Hello, everybody. Bill Platt here, and I've got a something I'd like to talk to you about today. I'm kind of stepping up my game, trying to streamline my videos so they're not as long and stay focused on single topics so that more people can watch what's going on. But anyway, um I want to talk to you today about the challenges a lot of people face when they're first getting started publishing books. And so I broke this down into 5 steps. And the first steps that anybody who wants to publish books must do is learn the basics. And the basics are these are the types of books we're producing. This is how you put together your book. This is how you set your margins, your gutters, make everything look just right so that when you upload your book, it can be published and people will like the item they just purchased from you. So it's not a matter of what we're seeking to do with this is the first step is to get that first bunch of sales. And so we have to have a good product to get sales. And once people start buying our stuff and they start leaving reviews and we start to have a ranking, a sales ranking for our book, more people will notice our books and more people will buy our books. And I don't think that, myself, I don't believe that a review is essential to sales. But any reviews you can have will help your overall sales long term. So while it's not necessary for people to leave reviews on your journals, it's helpful for people to leave reviews on your journals. What I've noticed from my polling and the research I've done, only 40% of people who look at buying a book will make their decision based on the number and quality of reviews that book is getting. So 60% don't need the reviews at all. 40% want the reviews because it helps them determine whether a particular book will meet their needs or not. So if you can get reviews on your book, then that will increase your sales by about 75% or 70% over what you would have with no reviews. And people are strange. It's people, a lot of people can look at a book description and decide, okay, yes, this book is exactly for me and I'm going to buy it. And I kind of fall into that position where I don't really need to hear what strangers say about a particular book for me to make a purchase. I look at the description, I look at the opening 10% or whatever, the see inside, to make the determination whether this is a book I want to buy or not. And I totally ignore the reviews, okay? But other people will go through the same process that I go through, and then they'll be on the fence. And this is where a good description comes in, because if you've done a good job describing your product, then more people are going to buy it without needing a stranger to tell them it's okay to buy this book. It's going to do exactly what you want to do. So that's where the reviews come in. So the reviews are there for the people who are on the fence. So the first thing we want to do is we want to learn the basics. We want to learn what it takes to create a book. We need to learn how to format the book, how to load the images, how to set the margins and gutters, how to upload the create space, how to list our book on the Amazon platform, okay? The second thing we need to do is we need to publish our first book. Because until you publish that first book, all the knowledge in the world is meaningless because you haven't published anything yet. There's a lot of people who, it's a strange thing. There's one lady who has been buying training from me for 5 years, and she still hasn't published her first book. Now, with folks like her, The reality is she buys my training as an entertainment. And I don't, I prefer that she took action. I really would. I prefer that she could point to Amazon and say, hey, that's my book, and give people the opportunity to purchase it. But in her case, that's probably never going to happen. In her case, knowing what to do is more important than doing it, okay? There's a lot of people who think that way. And a lot of people say, well, if I get on hard times, then I know what to do to get out. Well, it could be because I'm more greedy than most people. I'd rather put more books out, put more books out, put more books out. And I've got over 600 books on Amazon right now, and I'm going to be over 1,000 books on Amazon before Christmas. So that's my thing. So maybe it's because I'm more greedy than everybody else. But the thing of it is, if you want to make money, you have to have a product for people to purchase. Okay? So you need to get that first book published and available on Amazon. Now, I'll tell you from first-hand experience, it's scary to publish your first book. I published my first one as a PDF. Then I published my first one as a Kindle book. And then later I published my first one as a print book. And between the first one as a PDF and the first one as a print book, I'm ashamed to tell you there's 8 years difference. Okay? And then there's published as a PDF and published as a Kindle book. And the difference there is still 4 years. I'm embarrassed to tell you that, but it's true. Okay? So we are all intimidated at a certain point in the process, and there's been several things over the course of my career that I was flat intimidated by for the longest time. My first website. It took me 3 months to convince myself that, yeah, I could go ahead and build something on that website, and it's okay because I can fix whatever I break, right? And then I started doing my own programming on my website, doing my own HTML pages. And then I rested on the laurels of, well, my web host has backups. So therefore, because there are backups, if I screw something up, I can recover what I broke. Okay? So I was intimidated by getting my first website. Then I was intimidated by putting my first page on the book, on the website. And then I was intimidated later by doing masterful upgrades to my website. And then I was intimidated by doing programming on my website. Then I was intimidated by publishing a PDF, and then publishing a Kindle book, and then publishing a print book. And I've only been publishing print for 4 years. But I've been writing professionally since 2001, and as an amateur writer since 1984. Okay? So I started writing in the 80s. And then I got published for the first time in 91. But I wasn't making a significant amount of money with it until 2001. And I wasn't making I wasn't making an actual living from it until 2005. Well, to the point that I could leave a job. So I left my last job in 2005, and I've been working on my own ever since. Okay? So there's an intimidation factor when you're starting out. Don't worry about it. Just get the courage to go to the next step. So get the courage to publish your first book. And then once you've done so, you'll realize, oh my, that was easier than I thought it was. And then that will give you the confidence to go on to publish your second book. But you have to learn the basics of what you need to be doing, and then you have to publish your first book. And go out there and step forward with publishing that first book, even though it scares the socks off of you. Because once you get that first book done, then you'll find you have a whole new level of confidence that you didn't have yesterday. Okay? The next thing you need to do is practice. Practice makes perfect. So you put together your first book. You published it, and now you want to try different things. So your goal here is to start publishing enough that you realize where your weaknesses and where your strengths are. So where my strength is right in the description and uploading. And the reason why it took me till 2014 to publish a print book, whereas I've been publishing since 2006, the reason, and even publishing Kindle books since 2010, the reason why it took me so long is I was scared to death of margins and gutters. So the gutter is the extra space you put at the inside along the binding of the book so that your content isn't inside the binding itself, okay? So it was intimidation with bindings and gutters. Or not bindings, but margins and gutters. And it took me forever to get that part right. And to be perfectly frank with you, I published my first print book in 2014. It screwed up the gutters. And then I ended up having to send it over to somebody else to fix it for me. And then I published it. And then from that day forward, I always took the original manuscript that I paid that person to fix for me, and I would delete all the content out of that book and then write the new one inside of that. And I did that for years. I'm embarrassed to say. Because I'm the pro, right? I've been doing this for a long time. I've been teaching this for a long time. But margins and gutters scared the pants off of me. And it wasn't until 2017 that it finally clicked. I finally understood. And now I can create a document from scratch with the right margins and gutters, not have to worry about, because I know exactly what I'm doing now. But that took practice. Lots of practice. I had to screw up dozens of times. I had to pay people to fix my screw-ups. But by going back and doing again and again and again what scared the pants off of me, I was eventually able to get to the point where I was able to do it myself. But it was doing dozens of books before I got to that point. So practice makes perfect. Once you've done it enough times and you understand what's going on when you're doing it, then it's easy. Now I can produce a book and publish it as a print book within hours instead of weeks of sweat and tears, okay? So the next thing we need to do is once we understand what we're doing and we understand the processes involved, we want to refine our technique so that we streamline the process. So when I was first publishing books on CreateSpace, I would use the guided setup. So I go through the guided setup, and I would do, it's like 6 or 7 or 8 pages to put all the content in for the book. And once I understood everything that was going on there, then I was able to look at expert setup. And now I publish all my books with the expert setup. And it's all the information you need on just one page. But then there's another technique beyond that. And now I have a notepad over here that has my book description in it. And it's got 2 or 3 different book descriptions. And I can grab one of them and copy it into the page and then customize it. And then I got a list of keywords in another notepad, and I can copy those. And it's like 15 keywords, and I copy them, and I drop it into my keywords. And then I eliminate the ones I don't want. Or you can't actually do it that way, but what you do is you go into your notepad and you copy one and put it in there, and copy a second one and put it in there, and copy a third one and put it in there. And it goes a lot faster because you know in general what keywords you want to use, but you have to pick out what ones you want to use for each individual journal. So there are certain things that I have done that speed the process. And like I used to do all the book covers inside the Create Space book cover creator. Now I do all of them on my desktop, and then I just upload the image and upload the image and upload the image. And I don't use it. It's faster for me because I've refined my techniques. Okay. The next thing is, once you get to the point where you understand the basics, you've overcome that fear of publishing your first book, you've done the practice and become comfortable with the entire process, and you refine the technique so that you can focus on speed, then you need to set production goals for yourself. And production goals, and they're going to vary for everybody. Di Hauser, her goal is to publish 10 books a day. And I, on the other hand, I'm looking at publishing 300 books a month. Now, it's the same. When you break it down, it's exactly the same, except she's doing something every day, and I'm doing something one day every month. Okay? Now, other people are going to have different production goals. Maybe it's 1 book a day. And the person that I learned this strategy from, what we teach under the book a day system, that's Debbie Miller. She passed away last year, or earlier this year. But she taught me the principle of doing journals, same guts, different title and different cover. Okay? And she was publishing 8 books a day on the days that she published books. And she didn't publish every day of the week. She didn't publish every day of the month. Some months she published 1 day a month. Some months she published 4 days a month. But she's always publishing 8 books a day on the days that she did do that. And at the end of her first year doing it, she had almost 800 books. And then over the next year, she had another 550 books uploaded. So all told, she had 1,350 books that she had published on Amazon. And at the time of her death, she was able to pass those royalties to her granddaughter, who's a single mom. And when she passed the account to her granddaughter in the will, her granddaughter got to take that $2,200 a month for the rest of her life. Okay? So we're not talking big numbers per book, but over the course of all the books, we're talking about X number of dollars per book per month. And in the case of Debbie, it was roughly $1.70 per book per month. Now, bear in mind that not all 1,300 books are selling every month. Some of them are selling several hundred copies a month. Some of them aren't selling at all. But over the group, she's averaging $1.70 per book per month in book royalties. And that's what we're aiming for with the Book a Day system. We're looking to put out a lot of different material for people to purchase. And overall, in time, we will start to see $1 per book per month or $2 per book per month. Kelly Roberts, she's got 4,800 books, makes about $6,000 a month. So in her case, also, she's making $1.25 per book per month on average. So but you know, at a certain point, once you understand what the monetary rewards are for the effort that you're investing, then you're willing to commit yourself to production goals. And I'm committed to 300 books per month. And Di is committed to 10 books a day. And Debbie was committed to 8 books every day she worked. Okay? So we all have different goals and what we hope to achieve. We set our own production goals according to the time we have available as individuals and how much time we want to commit to the task we're doing. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So, getting there, you should never, ever, ever compete with me. Very few of you are going to be able to publish 300 books in a day. It actually takes 2 days because I upload 300 on day 1 and approve them all on day 2. Not all of you are going to be able to do 10 books a day like Di does it. Not all of you are going to be able to do 8 books a day like Debbie was doing it. You should compete with yourself. Maybe it's 1 book a week. And that's okay. Because you are only competing with yourself. But once you learn the basics and you publish your first, that's the important part. Because publishing the first one allows you to overcome your fears. Practice allows you to overcome the intimidation of doing it right. So like with me with the margins and gutters. It took me forever to wrap my head around that. But I would have never got my head wrapped around that if I didn't practice. Okay? And then we refine our techniques to speed the process. And then once we've got it down, and like right now, I can publish typically, it only takes me about an hour to do like 25 to 30 books. So I'm doing about 2.5 minutes per book. But the reason is I've built a system, a technique that I follow that allows me to produce at a level faster than most people. So I'm doing 25 to 30 books an hour. And for me to do 300 books a month on a single day, I only have to work anywhere from 10 to 12 hours. And then I can put that day behind me for the rest of the month. I'll come in tomorrow and I'll approve all the books that CreateSpace has approved. Now I got 300 new books up this month, okay? So you refine your technique for speed. And then once you know what you're capable of producing, you set your production goals, okay? And set production goals according to your own needs and your own desires, okay? So that's where we're going with this. So I hope this makes sense to you. 90% of it is overcoming your own fears and figuring out how to do it better, okay? That's 90% of the challenge that we all face. I can't tell you how many times I've postponed things because I was scared of doing and scared of screwing up what I was doing. But the way to fix that is to just do it and be willing to fail. You got to be willing to fail. Because in failure, you learn how to do it in a way where you're not going to fail. And then as you are able to do it a few times without failure, you gain confidence. And with confidence, then you can look at what can I do to speed this up. And once you figure out what you can do to speed it up, then do it. And then once you realize what you're capable of doing, set your production goals accordingly. Okay? So thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm Bill Platt, and have a great day.